Knicks will click, but it's scary waiting for it.
There you
How
go.
long do you wait, Sky, before you start to get worried? How long do you wait if this team is hovering around 500? Is it mid-December? What are we talking about?
I think New Year's. I think
Yeah.
New Year's. That's a significant amount of time. It also lets you know where you are with the trade deadline coming in, a month and a half after New Year's. So now you start figuring things out and saying, okay, what can we do? Because, the Knicks had a treasure chest for a long time. That treasure chest is pretty empty now. We got great return for it, Mikal and Cat and everything like that. But it's pretty empty now. So even if you wanted to say, what are we going to do? Some people say, oh, well, Josh Hart should go back to the bench. Okay, well, who's going to start? You don't want to pull Deuce McBride off the bench because he is giving you those minutes. And, man, I don't know what he did over the summer, but his summer was immaculate because every time he touches the rock now, you can bet that he's cashing that in. And it's been insane. So you don't want to move him off the bench because your bench and point production is coming from him. Who's going to start? You go out there and try to get another starter at the 2 or another piece to move Mikal back or whatever it is, and there's nothing there. So, trade deadline is going to be funny because someone's going to have to go out because it's pretty bare, So I would say New Year's is when you got to really start thinking, all right, we got to be careful now because before you know it, it'll be April, and we do not want to be a play-in team. We want to be a top 2-3 seed in the Eastern Conference at least. I think New Year's is when you start seeing what's what. But for now, like Jonathan said, it is 7 games. It's not even double digits. Let's just keep it where it needs. People are panicking because of the expectations, because of how talented the roster is. If we had a mediocre starting 5, it'd be different. We have a starting 5 that can really, really compete. So you're expecting things right away.
Skyzoo, Keep Me Company, his album drops on November 29th, Black Friday. Be sure to keep an eye out for that. And John, quickly, man, just tell me, what's your date? What's your expiration date on I'm Not Worried Yet?
Yeah, I don't think New Year's is crazy. I'd probably go a little, for as much as I'm preaching patience, I would probably go a little bit earlier than that. I think the sort of the things that you're seeing in terms of, defenders getting confused about who's switching and when to switch and stuff like that. I think 20 games, 25 games is fine. I think the bigger thing that I'm wondering about is, can the offense really start to click in a way that I just don't feel like we've seen yet? Now, I am saying that cognizant of the fact that this is the 4th best offense in the NBA. So like that's not nothing. I know they're first in the league in threes, and that number will come down, but I expect the fact that they will, start to get a little bit more cohesive. Jalen Brunson will start to hit some shots that he normally hits. That'll balance out the 3-point regression that is surely coming. I want to that. I think give me like 20 games for that 15, 20 games to start to see repeatable. I'll use Skyzoo's word because it was a good word. It was repeatable habits, and there's no coach in the NBA who talks about habits more than Tom Thibodeau, and building those habits from training camp and then continuing to work on them throughout the year. Because I think the thing you don't want to happen, and we know how things get, and you know better than anyone how things get in this organization when things are not going well. You don't want to get to the point where you have fallen to the point where there's finger pointing and there's like blame being tossed around, and there are like fundamental questions about things that I'm obviously a believer in this team, so I don't think there should be any of those fundamental questions. I like what they did. I like what the direction they're going, but that kind of stuff tends to pop up once you start losing too many games. So I think you want to avoid that. That's why, it's early in the season, but these next couple of games, Milwaukee, Indiana, Philadelphia, these are important games. You want to be ideally 5-5 at least after 10 games. Can you get there?
And you guys, John mentioning 25 games reminded me of the Kemba year. It was early on. Yeah. And after a bad loss, I asked Thibodeau about, hey, you think it could take 25 games for these guys to really get it together? Some people have mentioned that. And he was not happy with that premise. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember how angry he was, and I remember how quickly that press conference ended after that question. So, we're talking about the longer term, them figuring it out. I don't think Tom Thibodeau is thinking that way at all. So He wants to get this thing turned around Friday. Milwaukee coming to town.